Howdy, Matthew Pizgatti checking back in. This is the third installment of these clips from Forex Shark, developer of Piggy Bank, Animal Farm, Drip Garden, Drip Faucet, etc. In this third clip here, I've actually joined a couple clips that someone had recorded together. This was from an AMA yesterday, by the way. This isn't from the long AMA today that I did broadcast live earlier. You might want to that'll have a lot more updated information. That was a kind of a more formal AMA, ran about 3 hours. He gave a lot of good information, a lot of new bullish updates that should make you really positive about the future of DRIP. But this clip from yesterday, he's talking about the piggy bank. He explains more how some of that's going to work after the crediting, after the unpause. And then in the second half, he starts talking about someone asks the question of how to take profit from those LPs. Is there any way to do that without breaking them apart? So on and so forth. So you might find some of that interesting as well. This will be the last piece of these snippets I had captured from yesterday. So enjoy. Catch you guys on the next video.
Which timer? Pigpen?
The timer, yeah, the timer in the Pigpen that you said, the longer you are, the more staking you will get.
No, so that doesn't reset because it's not based. So there's ways that you can do time waiting without actually looking at block times. So yes, it doesn't reset at all. And the way the mechanics work, it's not actually. It's accounting for how long you've been in there, but it's not specifically based on block times. So it gets technical, like very technical, how it does time waiting. But one way you could think about it that's fairly simple, which is one dynamic of how it does time waiting, is it pays a percentage every day of the vault, right? So this ensures that as long as it stays active and you continue to deposit pigs, then your share of the pig pen ownership increases over time. Those are increasing for every individual user the longer they're in there. But it's all relative to other users. So, how long you've been in there relative.
So Forex
LP tokens, or if you have pigs tokens in your wallet, right? When we paused it, you didn't have it in Piggy Bank, you didn't have it in Pigpen, you just had it in your wallet. You will need to claim it from a claiming contract. Other than that, you don't have to do anything because you'll be credited in whatever contract it was in.
Perfect.
Yeah, when we pause.
So I don't need to wait for a timer to run down or anything, right?
No, it's when we unpause, it's just all of the existing contracts will be essentially exactly like they were before we pause. Only some of them will have more money in them, such as the pig pen, because capital has been accumulating. And in the piggy bank, the distribution will be more fair because that initial bot who sniped the contract with the intention of trying to drain it or just sell it every day, he has been removed from the system, and he wasn't removed from the system in some kind of subjective way, right? We didn't just arbitrarily decide to take him out, although we would have, because we specifically said that if you try to get around any of our anti-bot protocols, and if you set up contracts to snipe the piggy bank and drain the system, you will be blacklisted, right? So he went against our terms of service. That was stated beforehand. So we would have. Hold on a second. I don't want to stop the background noise. So we would have taken him out anyways. But the way that we're doing the crediting means that we don't have to do any kind of arbitrary picking and choosing on who gets blacklisted, who doesn't get blacklisted. Because essentially the way we're doing it is taking the amount of LPs you deposited minus the LPs that you withdrew from the system, and this is what you'll be credited with the launch of V2. So, if you deposited, if you sniped the contract, and then had a script that all you did was attempt to drain the system, that means you withdrew more LPs than you deposited, and you don't get credited in the new system. So, and of course, no one can complain about that because you're walking away with profit from the system that you tried to break our rules in, right? So, this allows it to be an extremely fair distribution and ensures the people that got in there with the intention of only draining the system are now not getting credited and are not going to be able to affect the existing investors. Because what we do first and foremost is protect investor capital above all else, right? Even when it might be extra work or in any case, right? We always or a hard decision to make, right? We're always going to go with the side of protecting investor capital, right? So the distribution,
that's so good.
Each user deposited an LP minus what they withdrew, right? We'll then credit them with this amount of LPs in the order they deposited with a type of simulated buy, which essentially acts just like they got in the order that they got in, to determine the distribution that everybody gets. But instead of doing it with a relatively small starting liquidity, we used the same starting liquidity as we did with DRIP Garden, which worked well for DRIP Garden, but we didn't get bought in DRIP Garden. That was the difference. But anyways, we learned from that. We've made serious changes both on our development team and in the way that we do our development in the future. Right? And I've listed multiple of those changes we've made. But anyways, we do this in the order as if we had a higher seed amount, which means the price impact for every buy is less than it would be with a smaller starting seed amount. And this means a more fair distribution, right? A more fair piglet distribution. And even though the initial 3% that buy in would, in a vacuum from raising the starting seed amount, get slightly less, right? So somewhere like the first 3%. Even those people will get more because the initial boughter got so much, and all of that capital is being distributed as well. So that makes up for everybody, to the point where virtually every user is going to have more in the piggy bank than they did before we paused it. Right? So we told botters, don't do it. If you try to get around our anti-bot protocol and snipe, we will blast you, and that capital will be distributed to the rest of the users in the system. That's exactly what's happening. So, it's more than a pain in the ass to have to have it paused like this. But you can look on the bright side and see that botter who tried to screw us now made a $500,000 donation to the community. And also, we've learned a major lesson from this, right? So not only the lesson of don't give out deadlines until 100% of the work is done, is a decision. We also full-time to do ball control and to be looking over our shoulders at all times. His own independent development to see if he gets the same we get. So not only this, but also we put a lot more thought how we can do launches in the future to any kind of sniping or we put a lot of into determining the future, right? Any kind of sniping, plotting. There are ways that we can do that we'll implement from now on to ensure that never happens again. Also, we put a lot of thought in what we can implement in the code so that it didn't happen again. We have the ability to address everything. So, when you look at a lot of other dev teams, right? When they make their fumble, when they have a little bump in the road, they get drained, right? We do our diligence, so we ensured that we had our safety protocols in place so if something unexpected does happen, they cannot drain that capital, and the investor funds are protected, right? So we put a lot of thought into that before we ever launched, and we did our diligence, and it worked. But you can always improve. You can always get better, and that's one thing we took away from it. Okay, in the future, if something unexpected does happen, number one, we'll invest protected capital. That's a given. We know how to do that already. On top of that, how can we do it without needing to pause everything else? And there are ways to do that. You just have to go into development with that in your forethought, right? Which we now have. So we're in a better place than ever. You know, between the people that I have on my team now, the crazy networking I've done over the past month with new connections, what we have in development right now, the future for DRIP and Animal Farm. It's like I feel so good. Plus the this awesome raise that we have in the DAO. You know, I feel really good about that project as well, and the work that we'll be able to do with them. And you know, we got $1 million allocation for that, right? That's I don't want to say what we could make a return off that, but you know, we've turned $1 million into $100 million in the past in the DAO. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we break that, right? So we made a lot of rich people. We're going to continue to do it.
I got a quick question here.
Hallelujah.
Is there any advantage of joining first in the Pig Bank, or can you join later and will have the same benefit that someone joined earlier?
No, I already kind of went over that. The longer you're in the pig pen, the greater your daily dividends are relative to your holding.
Piggy Bank. I was asking the Piggy Bank, not the Pig Bank.
Oh, I thought you said pig pen. Yes, yes, of course.
Piggy Bank.
Of course, there's a benefit to getting in earlier in the pig pen because there's an exchange rate for truffles. The more capital is in there, the more expensive truffles are. So the earlier you get in, the better truffles price you'll get. Also, when you're in a system that allows you to earn compound interest, the earlier and the larger you can get into these systems and compound in them, the greater exponential growth you'll see. So fundamentally, it's better to get in early. And then there's also the time locking element. And you get a bonus for time locking, which means if you get there early and time lock, you're going to get your bonus and be able to have access to that capital before others in the system. So, yeah, there's all kinds of different benefits to getting in early, but we still implemented the mechanics that allow for you to get a good rate essentially anytime you enter, because essentially Piglets is constantly diluting itself, which is how we have a mechanism that is that me? Someone else.
I think that's you.
That's how we have the mechanism that reduces the percentage that you make every day, right? So because of this, Piglets is constantly diluting itself. When you compound in the system, you essentially get reset to making 3% a day. So the same mechanic that controls the ability for the reducing daily percentage also ensures that if you get in later, you still get a fair rate on Piglets, because the truffle price, because the truffle price is the truffle price can reduce due to the inflated truffle amount, and the truffle's price per piglet is a constant, so you can essentially afford more piglets, right? So there's there's like 4 different mechanics that all interact with each other that all make it so there is a benefit to getting in early, but it never gets it never becomes a point where it's not worth getting in because the price is too expensive, or you can no longer earn the percentage that that you want to earn, like the top percentage. Because say you deposit a month from now, you're still going. When you do that initial deposit, you're going to be making 3% a day, right? Now, if someone deposits now and then doesn't do any compounding and lets it sit for a couple months, they're not going to be making 3% a day. So the person, no matter when you deposit, your actions determine the percentage that you make every day, not when you got in. When you got in can have a benefit because you could pay at a lower truffle price, which allows you to have more piglets and earn more truffles, and and compound from there, right? And whenever you have a system that allows you to earn compound interest like this, there's a benefit to getting in early. But what determines your daily payout is your actions in the system, not when you got in. So you can get in a month after someone, but if you're compounding daily and when you initially get in, you could be making 3% a day. They could only be making 0.5% a day, right? So Piggy Bank is all about your actions, right? Of course, there's always some benefit to getting in early, but someone who gets in even 6 months from now, but is active in the system, could be generating a lot more capital, right, for the same principal. So they could deposit the same exact principal, get in 6 months later. If they're compounding regularly to keep their yield at 3% daily, they could be earning way more than someone that deposited 6 months before them and isn't active in the system. So it's all about being active. It's all about keeping your daily percentage high, right? And to do that, you have to be depositing and compounding.
Just like the garden, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it in the garden.
Same like the garden, but the garden does not have this time locking mechanism, which adds a whole nother type of mechanic that rewards getting in early and locking.
Hey, Forex, I have a question. I missed most of this meeting. I had to step away in between. And it's probably been asked, but the Piggy Bank, the truffles that are sitting there now, just leave them alone, or can we still continue to compound them?
Yeah, so it's not going to matter if you compound it or not, and so just save the gas. Not that gas is a lot on BSC, but save the gas because you're going to be credited in Piggy Bank based on the amount of LP you deposited minus the LP that you withdrew, and then you'll be credited as if you deposited that amount of LP, got the amount of piglets that you would get for that amount of LP, and those are the amount of piglets that you'll be credited with, and then as soon as we unpause, you'll be starting to earn truffles based on these piglets. And because of the way that we're doing the distribution, you'll have more piglets than you had when we did the deposit, because we're doing a more fair distribution.
Forex igual.
And we're doing a more fair distribution by taking the capital from the botter, sharing it with everybody else in the system evenly, and also starting with a higher LP amount.
So it makes no sense to compound the truffles that we have here now, right? Since the contract is paused.
Yeah, it's just going to waste the gas because we're not taking that into account when we do the distribution anyways. The reason why we're not taking that into account when we do the distribution is because if the initial distribution was not correct and people are earning and compounding truffles based off on it, then whatever they're earning and compounding is also not correct. So it doesn't make sense to, that would defeat the whole purpose of doing the redistribution if we were going to distribute it in that fashion, right? So the distribution is based on the LPs that were deposited. And essentially, everybody will get their piglets based on this distribution, and then we go live. No one will have accumulated truffles when we go live. Everybody will have piglets. You'll have more piglets than you had before the pause, but you won't have truffles. And as soon as we unpause, you'll be earning truffles based on those piglets you have. And this is good for a few reasons. One of them is because people that get in as soon as we go live and in the first 48 hours don't need to get in worried that someone has a whole bunch of truffles that are about to get dumped on their head, right? People that get in when we unpause are getting in at essentially the ground floor, right? And we're giving a 48-hour bonus where they get a 20% bonus for depositing. And everybody that is an existing staker should be very happy about this because we're making it as attractive as possible to get this thing re-rolling and get it kickstarted off the ground. And of course, everybody that has a stake in it can also decide that they want to make an additional stake and get a 20% bonus on it as well. So because no one is starting off with existing truffles, it's essentially like everybody who already had a stake got into a pre-sale. And now we go live on Thursday. You know, that's that. Functionally, it's just like that.
All right. What about the LPs that were sent in? For example, I had a 7-day stake which then expired after the bank was paused, and then I sold the truffles as instructed, and then sent them in. What happens on relaunching?
If you had a stake, say you had a stake that was 9 days old. Say you had a stake that was a 9-day stake, and you were 3 days into the stake. When we go live on Thursday, you'll have 6 days left on that stake. We're just taking the exact state that it was in as far as stakes, and just migrating that whole state over. So any gifts that you had, any referral bonuses that you had, any stakes, time lock stakes that you had, all of that will be included. You'll get all that.
No, I was asking about the LPs that we sent in.
Well, I don't know what you're asking. You said something about 7 days or something.
Yes, so I was saying that after my 7 days, I was able to sell the truffles. Well, of course, the farm was, or the piggy bank was paused, and then you asked us to send in the LPs, to kind of sell the truffles and send in the LPs. Yeah, so I did that. So what happens? How do we get that?
That LP will be credited to you in the piggy bank contract. So we paused it. We said, all right, we want everybody to withdraw their or sell their truffles, withdraw those LPs. This allows us to remove the capital from the initial pig token, right? Remove the liquidity from that, migrate it over to the new pig token, take those new LPs that we just created, deposit them into the piggy bank, and then everybody who had their piggy bank stake, when we paused V1, will now get credited with those LPs that they had when it was paused. So if the LP was in the piggy bank when we paused it, you have nothing to worry about. You have nothing to do. When it launches, you're going to be credited piglets for those LPs. Those LPs will be in the new piggy bank contract, and you'll have your time lock stake if you have time lock stakes. If not, if you just had a regular stake, then you'll have the piglets. You start earning truffles on it, and that's it. You don't have to do anything. If you had LPs in your wallet or you had pigs in your wallet, right, when or before it was paused and when it was paused, right, those LPs you will need to claim. So if you had pigs in your wallet when we paused, those pigs, you had to send them into the credit contract. And then when we go live on Thursday, you'll have to claim them out of the credit contract. If you had LPs in your wallet when it was paused, you had to send those LPs into the credit contract. And when we go live on Thursday, you'll be able to claim those the new LPs and the V2 pigs from the credit contract. If you had them in Pigpen or Piggy Bank when we paused, then what we asked you to do is withdraw them from Piggy Bank or Pigpen, send them into the credit contract, and when we go live on Thursday, you'll be credited for those pigs, those pig LPs, in the new contracts. In the Pigpen contract, if that's where they were when it was paused, in the Piggy Bank, if that's where they were when it was paused. That should answer your question. I mean, I can't really break it down.
Thank you. That's clear now. Thank you.
No idea about your individual case. If you got a referral bonus in, or if you get a referral bonus in Piggy Bank, but you don't have a stake yet, it goes to your zero stake, and you need to compound it into piglets. Essentially, use it to buy piglets to have it be accessible. Right? It gets turned into piglets. Those piglets pay out truffles. We didn't add the ability to compound referral bonuses at launch, and the idea was to add it immediately after launch, and then we paused, right? So we didn't do it because the contract paused. But you could have called the feed piglet function, and it would have done it, right? That's a public function that you could have called, or you could do it on the front end, right? And where it will be on the front end when we go live on Thursday.
All right, cool. Well, I'll just see how it plays out. I was just curious because there was a few people that had 0 stake. So thank you for your time.
Yeah. So essentially, if you have a 0 stake, you get truffles. But all right. So let me before I answer this question, let me just explain it a little bit better. So when you have a deposit on a stake, you can only earn 5 times what your deposit is. So if you have a 0 stake, right, and you get a bunch of referral bonuses because you don't have you get a bunch of truffles sent to you because you don't have a stake yet, but you referred people, then those truffles sit on the contract waiting for you to compound. You cannot withdraw them, right? The reason why you can't withdraw them is because you can only withdraw a max of 5 times what you deposited. If you have no stake, you have nothing deposited, then you can't withdraw anything from the system. And this is a safety protocol and also a sustainability protocol. Now, you can compound them into a stake and now start earning truffles off them. And that was available for you to do right at launch. But you would have had to call it, use BSC scan, or use adapt generator, or whatever you want to use to call that function. Or you could call that function manually, however you want to call it. When we go live on Thursday, there'll be a button that allows you to do it, right? But that's a edge case, right? That's a very much an edge case that people will get all these built-up referral bonuses without even having a stake, right? So that's an edge case that likely will never happen again, because the only time that would happen is when you have a launch event and you have a whole bunch of people referring people before it even goes live. So people are using referral links before anybody has a stake yet, right? So that's an edge case of something that only happens at launch time. But even so, and because that's a edge case that only happens at launch time, we didn't add the button on the front end, and that's because it's an edge case. It only would happen at launch time, and if that did happen, all the person would have to do is call the feed piglet function on BSC scan or whatever to handle it. But it's easy enough to just add the button. So we'll add the button when we go live on Thursday. But that's that. If you try to withdraw it and weren't able to withdraw it, it's because you can only withdraw 5 times your deposit, and if you have no stake, no deposit, it's not going to let you withdraw anything. You can only compound it.
Hey, Forex, when you talked about people adding the scratchers to their own website, would they have their own scratch tickets?
Yeah, that's the thing. We'd be selling it white label, which means they would have their own designs. We have designers, the ones that design the DRIP and the Animal Farm scratch tickets. So you would have your own design. It would be on your own website. It would do revenue sharing on your website. It would do it would be buying back your asset. The only essentially our incentive for doing it is because it would also be buying under our underlying assets as well. So it's a way where you can get this service paying essentially nothing up front, have this awesome scratch ticket model on your platform, designed for your platform, so when people go on it, they don't even know it's a whitelist service. They don't know this is developed by us or anything. It's just an all marketplace tickets on your website with your design, and back and buying your asset to it wherever you want. Yeah, for sure. That's something that I'm very excited about.
Nice. Awesome.
So I had a question about the Piggy USD LP tokens that are rewarded out from the Piggy Bank. Are there any plans on making a farm or some method of profiting from the Piggy Bank without breaking apart the LP tokens? Like just something in the future.
So you're earning LP token Piggy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you yield in the Piggy Bank. Now we can utilize some sort of back-end staking to earn additional yield, and this is what we're in Pancake Swaps talking about right now. When I said Pancake Swap reached out to us about a potential partnership and how can they help us, basically my answer to them was we want native farms and native pools for DRIP BUSD, for Dog BUSD, for Pig BUSD on the Pancake Swap website. This way we can take the Dogs BUSD, the Pig BUSD, etc. LP tokens in Piggy Bank and on the animal farm, stake them on the back end to be earning cake, right? And then we can use that cake to do all kinds of cool things. But
I would just
you as an individual are earning yield in Piggy Bank.
Right.
You know, that's the whole point of staking that LP. But absolutely, I would love to do something to earn yield on the back end as well, not just have it sitting in the contract like we're doing with we're doing the collateral rehypothecation on Animal Farm for our non-native farms and pools. The way we're able to do that is because PancakeSwap has a type of lending protocol that allows us to lend those LPs to earn yield. They would have to open that up to us for our native pools, which we're in talks with them about. We were in heavy talks about that before I put my full focus to Piggy Bank. And of course, we're going to go right back into that because there's a small handful of things that are like I'm ready to do immediately. One of them is check on the application status of our fiat on-ramp service that I applied to that is giving that service to several other projects that aren't as big as us. So I'm thinking that we should make good progress on that. I need to get back into communication with Chainlink. Chainlink, because of the Scratchy thing, I've been in communication with them, but I want to put more focus into that. I want to get back to PancakeSwap, right, and really try to nail in negotiations with them. I want to get back in talks with BetFury because they were ready to go. And then I need to finish the development of Animal Farm. And then when I finished that, they said that they needed a month or two because they were trying to get a sex listing, but we could link back up after that. So that's something I want to get right to, immediately now that the Piggy Bank development is finished. And I want to check in on Atlantis. There's a few smaller development teams that are building things I need to check in with. There's a lot on the table right now that I had to step away from to really hyper focus on Piggy Bank, but I'm right on the table again.
When does
the only idea for me is that the DRIP BUSD farm where I can put my DRIP Garden earnings into. Like I don't have to break apart liquidity, and I don't have to, weaken the price floor of DRIP. Like I liked the idea of being able to earn yield in pigs. So it sounds like you're kind of doing that with PancakeSwap for the Piggy Bank. Just another place to put our LP tokens.
Yeah. All right. So of course with DRIP BUSD, you can put that in Animal Farm and earn yield, right? But you're earning yield in the form of pigs. We're not able to earn yield on the back end, like earning cake, because we don't have a native farm pool on PancakeSwap yet. But that's something that we're in negotiations with right now. And I'm sure if we get it with DRIP, we'll be able to at least have it be in a better negotiating point with dogs and pigs. But they're really interested in DRIP right now. And I know with some of the things we have lined up, they're going to be more interested. So I was going to say you guys have no idea what a good UI can do, but of course you guys, I don't want to say what you guys have any idea about or not, but having the kind of UI that is on par with these, major international investment banks, and being able to do search engine optimization to really make that efficient, that's not something that was on my mind when we built the initial DRIP site, right? So right now we're listing kind of high on Google, but we should be at the top, and there's no reason, we're close to the top without doing any search engine optimization at all. So, I'm very confident that we can get at the top of Google. Just type in DRIP and we'll be at the top when we get this new UI out. So,
is there a timeline on that with everything going?
Yeah, well, it's already built. Right? So I'm looking at next month. There's some things that we need to do. We need to collect testimonials, right? Because I've showed. Let me see if I have it, but I've shown a kind of a preview of the website. We have a place right on the front page for scrolling testimonials, right? And that's something that we need to collect. And we already have a website that's been collecting DRIP testimonials, but I really want to, put focus into collecting more and really sift through the good ones and collect them. So we have that to do, and then we have to just kind of put the final touch on the team airdrop part of it. Right, because I paid to have the new DRIP website built through utilizing a team that only builds front ends, like for really high end, businesses, and they built the whole thing except for the team airdropping stuff, because that is really complicated and it's really takes a deep understanding of our network to do. So that's something that we're going to do. But everything except for that. So everything except for the testimonies getting collected and the team airdrop stuff, which is really pretty much done, right? We just need to make it a little more efficient. So because of that, I'm thinking next month is reasonable. But when we get I would say probably 2 weeks away, then I'll let people know we're 2 months away, we're a week away. I just want to be very careful about setting deadlines, But
I didn't know if you had something in your head where, hey, I wanted this out before, the chain link thing or before another thing. I didn't know if there was a certain point in all of this mix that this is where you want to implement it, or not necessarily.
So having a better UI helps open the door for everything else. So it's something that I want to get done as soon as possible, and I'm looking at next month. I want to get it done by next month. So
awesome.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Forex, quick question for you. So when Piggy Bank launched, back when it did, you had mentioned the possibility of an emergency end stake function, and obviously you threw that out the door for unknown concerns. Have you considered implementing that in the future, or with this with this next push next Thursday to relaunch Piggy Bank, will it not be a thing ever?
Emergency end stake function will not be added when we do V2. Potentially, it could be added in the future, but when we went over all of the logic, the only thing that could potentially cause trouble in the future is emergency end staking. So I wasn't comfortable with putting it in. Potentially, we could continue to research it and at some point in the future realize we could do it if we implement it this way or that way, and we will add it. If it makes sense to add, we will add it, but I don't want to make any kind of security concession like that for the sake of convenience or whatever. So we allow people to make multiple stakes. We allow you to compound your stakes, and we have functions that no other staking protocol has, especially no other time locking staking protocol has. And these additional functionalities we built into it add additional logic that we need to be very careful with, and I don't think adding an emergency end stake function would cause an issue, But if anything was going to cause an issue, I could see it being that, right? So it's just, I would want to do a lot more research on it if we were to do it. I'm without it, I'm 100% confident in the protocol, and I'll never make a decision that takes me anywhere other than 100% confident in the protocol. So it's not in the plans for Thursday. I'll tell you that, and if we come up with a scheme that we can be 100% confident in, then potentially we will do it. But it's I don't think it's necessary. I think it would be nice, but it's not necessary, right? Because you can do all kinds of stakes. You can do 100 different stakes, all ending in different weeks, different months, and do your planning beforehand, so you don't need to do emergency stakes.
I hear you. That sounds solid and reasonable. With that being said, what issues could you foresee happening with an emergency end stake? Like, my head goes, maybe someone stakes for a year, accrues a lot of capital, compounds every day, the whole 9 yards. Would their withdrawal and the potential sell, do you think that could negatively affect price of LP tokens, for example? Like, are you worried about people being dumped on, or what is your thought with that?
You never want a scenario where someone could potentially earn more in the system from getting out earlier. If you can set up your logic so there's never a scenario where someone could emergency withdraw and then maybe deposit the next day and somehow benefit from that, it can cause a type of looping potentially where they're depositing, withdrawing in some sort of automated fashion that allows them to drain the system. Now, I can't exactly see a scenario where that would be possible with emergency end stakes, right? But if there's any mechanic that would allow for something like that, it would be emergency end stakes. And it would just take a lot of research for me to be 100% confident in it. And I would rather get the product out and allow it to be functional and do the research while it's functional and maybe add it in the future when that's all done, than go into something with limited confidence or, launch this next year because I'm sitting here studying one small mechanic of out of the whole system that really isn't necessary for the system to work anyways. So this is mostly a pragmatic decision. That's all it is, right? Because I'm 100% confident in the current system. If I was to add an emergency end stake, I wouldn't be 100% confident, which means I would need to do a lot of research and a lot of testing, and I don't know when that would finish. And I know potentially when it was finished, I could come to the conclusion that it's not viable. And I don't want to, delay the launch of Piggy Bank for the next 6 months or the next year just over this one mechanic, right? So it's just a pragmatic decision. So I can go into this being 100% confident in the security of it and be able to get it out when we want to get it out.
Hey, Forex. That sounds great. Thank you.
Hi, Forex. Quick question.
Sorry, I'm going quite fast. So it's good to have you back. And you mentioned the secondary tier for the RIP DAO. Do you think about using dogs and pigs for that can create a secondary utility for those tokens? Are they suitable? And my second question is, I'm a React developer and I heard you are looking for a React developer as well. How can I contact you?
Well, first of all, yes. My plan for the NFTs is to sell them in batches and sell them in our assets. So sell some percentage of them in dogs, some percentage of them in pigs, some percentage of them in DRIP and some percentages of them in BNB, right? So that's the plan. The plan is to use them to provide value for existing assets, but I want to get a few third-party trades under the belt before we do it, and they would be limited, right? So, I'm thinking maybe we open up 1,000 positions, and sell each NFT for $1,000, $5,000, whatever the case may be. I want to do it for a tenth of the price of Tier 1. So right now, Tier 1 is about $40,000 to get in. So that would mean Tier 2 would be $4,000 for a seat in there. And, we would sell them in DRIP, dogs, and pigs, and BNB. And it would be a percentage in dogs, percentage in DRIP, percentage in pigs, percentage in BNB, probably 25, like that. And this is something that is not immediate on my list to do, right? So what's in my immediate list to do are, some of the things I already discussed that are directly related to DRIP and Animal Farm. Once we get a few raises under our belt, right, through third-party raises under our belt in the DAO, then I'll open up for Tier 2. Currently, right now, you can't get it in Tier 1. In order to get into the next few raises, you'll need to be in Tier 1. And when we do open up for Tier 2, the way that it will work is the price for these Tier 2 NFTs, first of all, the batch will be limited, right? We'll only allow for so many spots in Tier 2. And we'll be selling them for a tenth of the price that the current price is to get into Tier 1. So if Tier 1's $40,000, we'll be selling them for $4,000 each. You could buy them. When they're in your wallet, they represent essentially a spot in the DAO group. Or you could then sell them in an NFT marketplace to someone else that wasn't able to buy one because they missed out, and you can now sell it to them for a profit. So not only will it bring value to our native assets, which they'll be sold in initially, they'll also bring value to the holders because you get access to the DAO with them, or you can decide to sell them for a profit in the marketplace. So I think that's going to be very cool, but I want to wait until we get a few third-party raises. That way, the demand for them is very high. People see, I can point to, look at the last 3 raises we did. They did this and this and this. They're major companies. It went very well. You can also look at the 3 raises we had before that, which was my own project. We did 40x or more on all of them. And then you can look on my Discord. Over the past 6 years, I've done 3 dozen raises or whatever the case is with a lot of big companies. MahaDAO, TrustSwap, Legacy, a ton of different projects. And those all did very well also. So, but that's not on the top of my list. What's on top of my list is the handful of things that were on the sidelines for DRIP that are now on the table that I need to handle. Piggy Bank and Animal Farm promotion, the Scratch Ticket protocol, which I'm extremely excited about, and having these first few raises in the DAO, which will only be accessible to Tier 1. And to get that, you need to buy the REAP token, which is an ERC20 token. It's R34P. You could go into the DRIP Telegram group and type /DAO, and you'll get links to all of it. You'll be able to join. Once we get a few of these raises, I'm not going to go into what our next raise is because I've already gone over it here, but it's something very, very big. Right? It's by the former CEO of Paxful, it's a big deal, right? So you can get access to that right now. I should also say that there is a DAO member that has multiple positions in the DAO because he was just a big holder of REAP, and he's willing to sell at least one of his positions in the DAO OTC, right? So you would still buy it at market price, but you wouldn't need to suffer the price impact of buying $40,000 worth of tokens, right? So that would save you, 10, 15% maybe, even though you're getting it at market price. It's just because you're not causing price impact. It's OTC. There isn't a lot available for that, but I know the top holder of REAP has a few positions, and he's willing to offload at least one of them. So, and the reason why he's willing to offload at least one of them is because I've kind of pressured him to, because I don't want one person holding multiple seats. So I kind of let him know, hey, you can hold a handful of seats. I got no problem with that, but you're not going to be hoarding all of the seats, right? I want to let other people join the DAO. So I convinced him to occasionally, sell a seat or two OTC. So that's also an option. Drip Ninja, he's a good person to get a hold of if you need to get a hold of me. So about the React question, I get a dip after this, but Drip Ninja, he's always someone great to reach out to. He'll let me know. Angel, right, the admin, he'll let me know. And I hesitate to say Bartertown.
Ninja is good actually. I talk to him on a daily basis, so I can go through him. Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So because my Telegram username is on all of the listing sites and everything. So all of the spammers and bots and everything, they just DM me all day, every day, like, hey, I'm representing so-and-so exchange. We want to list you, blah, blah, blah. And I'll get like 1,000 of those posts every day. And, so when I have an established conversation with someone, I add them to one of my DM folders, and then I sometimes can notice if they DM me. I have a ton of notifications, so then it's still even hard, but at least you'll be on my radar. Whereas if you DM me and I've never had a conversation with you and you're not saved in one of my DM folders, your DM is going to get immediately buried and I'll never see it. So it's always best to hit up one of the admins and let them know, and they'll get the info to me. So, guys, I got an AMA tomorrow at noon. If you have any other questions that I haven't got to, go on Twitter, go on the DRIP community Twitter account, look at the last post I made. It's about the AMA tomorrow, and just write it under there, right? Because, I'm always checking in the chat and everything, but it's easy to miss it. I won't miss it if you write it in the under the tweet, right? So that's a good way for me to see your question. I'm going to read through those tomorrow and answer all of them. I'm going to try to open it up like this tomorrow as well, but it's just a little harder in the main group because we have like 60,000 people in there almost, and we get a couple thousand people in the voice chat, and it's just hard to open it up to people because there's so many people, and you get the guy who's like asking me how to, download MetaMask, and, why is my MetaMask blinking, or, I get all those kinds of questions when the group's too big. So, to make sure that I get to your question in the AMA tomorrow, if you have a question, put it under the tweet that I made today. All right, guys. Thanks, Black Sheep. Thank you guys for letting me do this.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for hanging out.
I know you asked me to do it, so I still appreciate it. I always enjoy the platform.
Yeah, come on the live stream sometime too, man. Anytime.
Thank you.
I will. We'll have to do it sometime this week. So I'll just get with you when we get off.
Let's do it. All right,
guys.
Man. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Man.
See you guys later. All right, bye, guys.
Take care.